How bad is tap water?
I mean, I'll say that I grew up drinking tap water. I grew up in New York City.
As did I.
Yeah, grew up drinking it.
Garden hoses.
Yeah, I think, yeah, same. I think you'd be well suited filtering your water. Because also, I mean, so one of these compounds that has been directly linked to Parkinsonism that Dr. Ray Dorsey from University of Rochester has published on. It's called trichloroethylene, and it's still being used in dry cleaning today. But it was used since until the 70s for certain medical applications. It was used as an anesthetic for pregnant women. It was used to decaffeinate coffee. It was used to extract vegetable oils. Readily infiltrates groundwater. And about 30%, I believe, of groundwater in the United States is still contaminated with this compound, trichloroethylene. And we know that there are traces of pharmaceuticals and various, compounds in tap water that I think, the dose makes the poison to some degree. So now and then, I think it's probably fine. But I do think, filtering your water, running it through a charcoal filter, maybe even a reverse osmosis purifier, is probably beneficial.
Does that get the fluoride out?
A reverse osmosis purifier does, yeah.
But not a charcoal filter?
No. There are some. There's one brand, I don't remember the name, but there are some pitcher filters that do claim to remove fluoride, but...
does the reverse osmosis remove the minerals from the water as well, though?
Yeah, it removes everything.
So that's not good.
Yeah.
So you need minerals.
You do need minerals.
Like, what is hard, when you get hard water from a well, you get that white stuff?
Too much.
What is that?
Too many minerals.
Is that bad for you?
I don't know. Probably. I mean, it's probably, in some way, if that's all you're drinking, and who knows what else that water has been able to leach through the pipes or what have you.
Speaking of which, have you seen the recent study that came out? It was very recent on these dishwashing pods.
Damn.
Yeah.
No. But
Dishwasher pods are putting forever chemicals all over your glasses and your plates. And can you find that? See if you can find that. I think it just came out very recently.
Oh, this one was not recent.
This is not recent?
gut epithelial barrier damage caused by dishwasher detergents and rinse aids.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
I think it's one of them, yeah. When was this study published?
December 22.
22. There was something that I read, I believe I read yesterday, but that they're starting to seriously consider.
Health News, Bloomberg.
Okay.
So you know what one of the major problems with endocrine disruptors are, Joe?
What?
Is that in the field of toxicology, there's this maxim that the dose makes the poison.
Right.
Right? Like that we establish what's called the no observed adverse effect level for a given compound, and then we assume that below that, exposure is safe. Right. And so that's why you always say, or why you always hear that exposure to these compounds is fine because the dose makes the poison and they're very small, in terms of the doses that we're being exposed to. But the problem with endocrine disruptors, and this is not fully appreciated, I think, by the vast majority of people, is that unlike most compounds which follow a linear dose response, where, you consume too much water at a certain point fast enough and it'll kill you, but below that, you're fine. A lot of these endocrine disrupting compounds have what's called a non-monotonic dose response. So a non-monotonic dose response means that at a low level, you might have effects, and you might not have effects for a period above that dose, and then you might have toxic effects at a much higher dose. You might have completely different effects at a low dose. So low dose toxicity, that's the issue. And hormesis is a perfect example of this working in our favor. And it's a perfect example of a non-monotonic dose response that we actually want.
Like broccoli sprouts.
Like broccoli sprouts, yeah. So at a very low dose, broccoli sprouts, this compound sulforaphane produced by broccoli sprouts creates a beneficial effect in the body, a response where it causes our livers to increase production of glutathione, and we seem to have this protective, adaptive response to it, right? But if you were to consume too much sulforaphane, it would kill you, right? And so one of the issues with these compounds like phthalates and other endocrine disruptors, but phthalates in particular, is that they have what's called a non-monotonic dose response, which makes them really difficult to study, and it makes guidelines surrounding them really tricky. And so the idea is that you might experience effects due to a low dose exposure that aren't necessarily killing you, right? But that are still deemed safe, So it's not quite a linear dose response. It can be, a U-shaped curve, for example. And so that's a big issue. It makes these chemicals hard to study, and that's one of the major concerns within the field of toxicology surrounding these kinds of compounds.
The hormetic effect is very interesting, right? Because something can be bad for you in large doses, but beneficial in small doses. And like this is similar to like what's going on with cold plunges and saunas as well, right? Like your body has a response to this thing that you stay in that cold water for a long time, it will kill you.
Yeah.
You stay in that sauna for a long time, it will kill you. But if you can get a healthy dose over a determined period of time and you build up to whatever that is, then you have these great benefits.
Yeah.
Where your body has to go through that stress and then responds to that stress and creates a more robust body.
Exactly. So you see you have an effect at various dosing, with various dosing, exposures, and in the case of sauna with hormesis, it's actually it's a beneficial thing. But some of these endocrine disrupting compounds, the way that they impact hormones, the way that they impact receptors on cell surfaces, I don't necessarily, it's not so clear that a low dose is necessarily safer than a high dose, and that's one of the problems. That's why I think you're better off, when people say that, oh, well, the level of phthalates in these ultra processed foods, they're in the parts per billion. We don't actually know how those, even as minute as they are, doses to that degree are affecting us, in the short term, certainly not the long term, but also, when combined with all of the other exposures that your average person, incurs over a day-to-day basis, it's just, it's a looming question mark. And so that's why I think it's better to be safe than sorry and practice the precautionary principle and to reduce your exposure when you can.
So for pretty much anyone listening to this that's concerned about Alzheimer's and any form of degeneration, whether it's Lewy body or any kind of dementia, so first of all, be healthy, be fit, stop eating processed foods, start exercising, limit your exposure to whatever these chemicals are, whether they're all the endocrine disruptors. What else can someone do?
Yeah, air pollution.
Air pollution. How much of a factor is the air pollution?
It's a big factor.